The silence of humanity. The galaxy had long since dismissed Earth as a fading ember, a species smothered by the weight of time. In the archives of the Yalthais Collective, humanity's history ended nearly 3,000 years ago. A few scattered colonies had flickered, then gone dark. No fresh signals, no fresh expansion, no pulse of activity, just silence. And silence, the galaxy had learned, was final. Civilizations that ceased speaking were civilizations that ceased existing. Among the stars, humanity became a myth. Their fleets, once loud, brash, and far too aggressive for their own good, were believed to be long scrapped, their hulls rusting in derelict orbits around dead worlds. They were studied as curiosities, the way scholars admire fossils, reminders of things that once lived, not warnings of things that might return. The alien councils spoke confidently. The humans are gone. Their graves are scattered in orbit. Their legacy is ash and empty stations. They will trouble us no more. But legends do not sleep easily. Whispers of ghost signals. It began, as these stories always do, with a whisper. An automated listening post along the rim detected a signal that should not have existed. Faint, fractured, a pulse buried in background noise. Too old, too broken to mean anything. The station's operators dismissed it as debris echo, the ghost of a dying beacon caught in gravitational distortion. But then came another. And another. Scouts dispatched to investigate reported shapes, massive metallic silhouettes adrift among shattered moons. They catalogued hulks the size of cities, their armored skins scarred by millennia. A graveyard, they said, floating in darkness. The report was filed, stamped, and shelved with a single note. Human wreckage, no threat, no activity. Yet the signals continued, subtle, rhythmic, increasing in strength like heartbeats. A graveyard that breathes. The Yalthais High Command ordered closer surveys. Probe ships flew through the wrecks, mapping the titanic corpses of battleships thought long dead. Hulls bore the faded insignia of Terran fleets, numbers etched in languages no one alive could read. Their weapons arrays were silent, their hangars hollow, their engines cold. But their arrangement was wrong. The derelicts drifted not as scattered ruin, but in formation. Thousands of them, arrayed like phantoms still holding a battle line. Admirals scoffed. It is coincidence. Wreckage can settle into patterns. There is no will behind them. Engineers disagreed. The hulls showed no corrosion beyond what sealed alloys would naturally endure. Many had intact reactor shielding, their cores dormant but pristine. Whoever built them had built to last. Still, the galaxy comforted itself. Dead things could not move. Until they did. Engines awaken. The first ignition came without warning. A Millennia-Old cruiser, its hull cracked and its paint long vanished, flickered to life. A dull blue glow radiated from engines no one believed could ever spark again. Its reactor, silent for countless ages, roared like a giant inhaling after endless sleep. Then another ship. And another. Across the graveyard, stars were drowned by sudden light as vessels shook off their long slumber. Plasma trails burned like falling comets. Old hulls shivered, plates shifted, weapons arrays unfolded like beasts stretching their limbs. Alien probes screamed as identification codes were pinged, Terran codes. Ancient, but valid. Codes the galaxy had long since erased from its registers. The graveyard wasn't a ruin, it was a fleet. And the fleet was waking up. Terror in the councils. At first there was denial. The Yalthais ambassadors argued that no machine could function after so long. Their engineers insisted the readings were falsified, that someone else was faking human signatures, perhaps pirates or rogue AIs or a rival empire staging tricks. But denial turned to fear when the footage arrived. Millennia-old battleships, thousands of them moving in unison, not clumsy but precise. Their formations locked tight, their vectors exact, not adrift, not a falter, as if the crews had never left. The alien halls fell silent, no one laughed now. Because if humanity had prepared such a fleet, what else had they prepared? The Ghost Armada moves. The first maneuver was simple. A shift in formation. Rows of hulks sliding as one, their colossal shadows blotting constellations. It was not random, it was strategy. Recon vessels sent to shadow them were intercepted, not with fire but with silence. Human ships moved to block, to corral, to signal without words. You are being watched. Then came the weapons. Barrels that had slept for ages rotated outward. Launch bays opened. Missiles that should have decayed centuries ago hummed with readiness. And when a Yalthai's frigate made the mistake of approaching too closely, the graveyard answered. One salvo, one streak of ancient fire, the frigate ceased to exist. The galaxy learned in a single breath. Dead fleets do not forget how to kill. Shadows across the stars. Panic spread faster than the fleet itself. Worlds whispered of ghosts made of iron and fire, of humans who had buried storms in orbit and left them to wait. No one knew where the crews were, or if there even were crews. Some claimed the ships were automated, AIs sleeping until they were needed. Others believed human descendants still lived aboard, sealed in stasis, waiting for their enemies to grow careless. The truth mattered little. What mattered was the terror. Because the fleet was moving, out of the graveyard, toward trade routes, toward colonies, toward the heart of the galaxy. And with every step, more hulls lit their engines. Millennia-old giants shaking off the dust, roaring against the silence. The weight of human design. Engineers across the galaxy tore apart every scrap of data, searching for explanation. How can ships this old even function? They demanded. Fuel degrades, alloys decay, reactors fail. But they overlooked one truth that only humanity had embodied. Humans did not build for comfort. They built for war. Their hulls were layered with redundancies upon redundancies, reactors shielded in self-healing alloys, data cores buried in vaults of diamond, ammunition sealed in stasis fields, waiting like venom in a fang. And most terrifying of all, their command codes had not expired. The ancient encryption still spoke with authority, as if human admirals from forgotten centuries still whispered orders across time. This was not a ruin, it was preservation, a storm locked in ice, thawing when the galaxy least expected. The clash of eras. When the first coalition fleet confronted the Terran graveyard, the outcome was never in doubt. Modern warships boasted speed, sleekness, and efficiency. They bristled with sensors, AI companions, and lightweight alloys. But against the resurrected human armada, they were paper against steel. The old hulls fought with brutal simplicity. Kinetic slugs hurled like thunderbolts. Plasma lances scorching through shields. Torpedoes fired in salvos that darkened space itself. And worse, they fought flawlessly. Maneuvers executed with a discipline no living fleet could match. There was no hesitation, no error, no weakness. The coalition fleet broke within hours. Survivors fled, whispering of shadows that fought like legends, as if time itself had chosen sides. Echoes of dread. In the aftermath, the galaxy quaked with realization. Humanity was not gone. Humanity had never trusted time to keep their enemies safe. They had prepared. They had hidden their fury in silent halls and let them sleep, waiting for the day they were needed again. Every empire asked the same question. If this is what they left behind, what else lies waiting? Were there more fleets entombed in forgotten orbits, more arsenals buried under moons, more storms preserved beneath ice and stone? The galaxy did not know, and that ignorance was worse than any weapon. The legacy of storms. In the deep halls of alien councils, one phrase began to spread, spoken in fear, whispered in awe. Humans don't just build fleets, they preserve storms. The Millennia-Old hulls ignited their engines once again, and the galaxy understood a truth carved across history. Legends never die, they only wait. For over 2,000 years, the galactic conquered had spoken of humanity only as a footnote. The records were fragmented, charred data crystals recovered from burned colonies, ruined outposts orbiting dead suns, and ancient reports from the first Xenu explorers who had found Sol empty of ships, its homeworld scorched by ecological collapse. The Selith, keepers of the Conquered's archives, declared that humanity was finished. The Terrans, they whispered in their high towers of glass and light, were a brief flame in the void, fierce but doomed by their own violence. And so the galaxy moved on. New empires rose, wars were fought without mention of Earth. Humanity became a ghost, an echo swallowed by the stars. For millennia, silence wrapped their name. But silence, the elders had forgotten, was not always the same as death. Echoes in the graveyard. The first hints came as anomalies. Long-range probes from the Quarrel Dominion picked up faint emissions along the Perseus frontier, near an abandoned sector that no major power claimed. The readings were weak, like the sigh of old reactors running on scraps of fuel.